Hello, I hope you're well. I'm going to talk about something that happened at work yesterday to demonstrate what it's like to live inside or live with an anxious autistic brain. I probably ought to spend more time researching the link between autism and anxiety. Although having said that, and you can probably tell I haven't got any notes. I've not even got like bullet points on a list. I'm just pressing record. Yeah, autism and anxiety is. I could research it and deep dive into it and become the authority, but really, I think in a nutshell, the reason why they correlate so strongly is that we're not autistic people don't live in a world that's designed for them, and so therefore we're anxious. We live in a world of unpredictability and lies and war, and we can't pick up on unwritten, sort of hidden signs because they're hidden, unwritten rules. It's just a minefield for an autistic person, so we're anxious. So it's not our fault. Anyway, I'm going to talk about something that happened at work yesterday, and I do confess that immediately after this anxiety-ridden episode happened, I thought, "Oh, material for a YouTube video." So there's always a silver lining. Yeah, it was one of those episodes that needlessly haunt me. But I think it comes from a core desire for things to pan out smoothly and for people to not be upset. So anyway, let's talk about what happened. So I was in the office yesterday, big open plan office, had meeting after meeting after meeting. And the day was going okay. It got to lunch, I was thinking, yeah, day's gone fast because I've had lots to do, lots of meetings. Yeah, let's just see out the rest of the day in as calm a fashion as possible. But then a colleague came up to me just as I was about to leave the office to get some lunch. And it was nice to see him, do not get me wrong. It was very nice to see him. He's a great guy. Because work in the same team but don't see each other that often because we work from home a lot of the time. So we had a chat, and I said, well, I'm going to get my lunch now. And he said, oh, well, I'll go with you. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Normally I have my lunch on my own because it's a chance to sort of decompress, to recover from all the social interactions that I would have had up until that point. And yeah, I was sort of against the ropes, really. I'm like, yeah, okay. He didn't threaten me. Against the ropes. I don't know why I said that. Anyway. So we walked to the canteen, and I got my... Well, no, let me tell you the full story. We went to another canteen directly opposite our workplace's canteen, and I bought a jack potato, a chicken tikka jack potato. Guilty choice. Really ought to be a vegetarian or vegan, but I just wanted to buy lunch and just get it done with, and it looked really nice, and it was nice. And then we went to our workplace canteen, and I sat down, started tucking into my lunch, and then my colleague came round and sat down with his lunch. I didn't like being in that canteen because I don't like people see me eat. That makes me anxious. I don't like the canteen anyway. It's really corporate and shiny, and people just seem really miserable there. They probably are because they don't want to be there. They're at work, but they can speak for themselves. So yeah, big shiny corporate canteen where everyone can see me eating. Not that they're all watching me like, oh, what's he going to do next? No, obviously not, but still makes me anxious. Anxious about the hypocrisy really of me eating a meat-based dish, given that I bang on about saving the planet. And in fact, I think that's what made me blush more than any other reason when another colleague said, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" As I was shoveling in my lunch, my hypocritical meat-based lunch. And, standing over me, I was eating, and then I had my colleague opposite me. So it was a three-way conversation, and I hate that. I cannot do it. I could struggle with a one-to-one conversation, let alone an unannounced, unplanned three-way conversation. It's just too much for my brain to compute, particularly as I'm trying to do something else, which is eat my lunch. So I'm getting anxious just thinking about the anxiety yesterday. So I would do it. It was the hypocrisy of me eating that lunch. And I know you say, well, big deal, it was lunch. But, I've got principles, although, principles today, some new principles tomorrow. There's a Groucho Marx quote about that. And, so I was annoyed about myself, and annoyed with myself about that. I was trying to steer the conversation so we were all included. And I went bright red. Just as I rapidly finished the rest of my lunch. I went bright red. I just couldn't stop it. I could feel it creeping, the blush creeping up my face. And of course, the more I thought about that, the more I blushed. So some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. And I knew they could both see me going bright red. And the colleague that had approached just to say hello, he's just been a nice guy. He said, he commented on the fact that I was blushing. And I tried to hide it by diverting the attention back to my other colleague who was late for the supervision he was due to have with our line manager. And I was like, are you going to go to see our manager? Because it's like 1:30. You're being really casual about this. And I sort of pretended to be really anxious about that. I mean, it was his lookout. It was up to him whether he gets there or not. Although having said that, it still bothered me that he was just being really casual about the time. Even though it was his appointment, I was worried actually that he might get in trouble, but he's an adult. I thought, well, it's up to him, I suppose. But I kind of hammed it up. I was like, you've got to go and see, our line manager, because you've just told me you've got to go and see her for this appointment, for this supervision. And the colleague had said, oh hi, made it a three-way conversation. He said, he pointing at me said, oh, well, that rash says that you're the one that should be embarrassed or anxious. And he called it a rash. And that just made it worse. That made the rash, the blush, even worse. And he was just commenting, but, I wish he hadn't. And I knew from that point onwards that would be what I'd think about for the rest of the day. So the morning had gone fine, even though I was at work and it was, noisy and, just unpredictable, all the usual. Didn't like it, but I had to go in because I was going to see my line manager after my colleague had seen her. But the morning went okay, and then at lunch, not even a meeting, not even something that I was expected to do well. Lunchtime was where it went wrong, and when you boil it down, it was just two colleagues being nice by saying hello, and I couldn't handle it because lunch is sort of my time, because I struggle with social interactions, because I've kind of illustrated it. Well, I like to think I have. Isn't that a case in point where too many variables. I say the wrong thing. I eat the wrong thing. So many things to consider in a social interaction, in any social interaction at work or amongst family or with whoever, wherever. I just get anxious thinking about what might go wrong. I think that's really at the core of it. Like, I don't want things to go wrong. I want things to be, calm. I want people to feel happy. I don't want to upset them by saying the wrong thing. And sometimes the easiest way not to say the wrong thing is to not say anything at all, because I'm not around anyone else. So, now that I know I'm autistic, I give myself that permission to spend more and more time on my own, because the only person to upset in that circumstance is me. And a good way of upsetting myself is to dwell upon, really harmless episodes like the one I've spoken at length about. But they matter to me. And this has happened throughout my life. I just had a conversation and I've agonised about what I've said afterwards. I sort of do a post-mortem. And that feeds the anxiety. And I think it comes down to my autistic brain, because my autistic brain wants peace. It wants predictability. It wants people to be happy. And social interactions, unless it's a very formal meeting, social interactions are by definition unpredictable. You don't know what's coming next. And then when you add in the sort of uncanny valley, double empathy problem, that makes that interaction rife with potential hazards. And if you're autistic, you probably understand what I've been rattling on about. If you're not autistic and you're watching this for whatever reason, I hope that it's been a useful and, dare I say, interesting insight into one person's autistic mind, and how anxious an autistic person can be because of the simplest things. Maybe knowing all of this, or knowing about this one particular episode, will make people go a bit easier on autistic people, and understand that they're anxious for a reason, and it's a good reason. They want things to be calm and happy. So thank you all for listening, and more than happy to hear your thoughts about anxiety, how to cope with anxiety, how to do better in the situation that I've described. Anyway, share your thoughts underneath the video or email me, and thanks again. Take care.